Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to pull out the key nuggets of knowledge for you. Today, let's talk about that feeling, being a leader who's just constantly putting out fires, always reacting.
Yeah, the firefighter mode. It's
Yep.
exhausting and honestly not very effective in the long run.
Exactly. So we want to introduce a different way of thinking. Think architect, someone who designs the system so those fires don't even start.
It's a real paradigm shift. And it's more than just a nice idea. It's like a strategic advantage, a shortcut almost to better leadership.
And this approach, it's got deep roots, right? We're talking W. Edwards Deming
Right.
and his system of profound knowledge.
Absolutely. Deming's work is foundational here. It gives us a framework, a holistic view for, well, making organizations actually work better.
Okay, so our mission today, let's unpack 4 key strategies to help you cultivate this architect mindset. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. The first big idea, and it's maybe the hardest shift for some leaders, is strategy 1. Stop blaming people, start improving the system.
Okay, stop blaming people. That sounds simple, but I bet it's not.
It challenges a lot of traditional management thinking. Deming's point was, and the data backs this up, something like 85 to 98% of the problems, the outcomes you see, they come from the system itself.
Wait, 85 to 98%, that's almost everything.
It is. It leads to his famous line, a bad system will beat a good person every time. So your job as a leader fundamentally changes. It's less about managing individual performance on its own and more about designing and improving the environment they work in.
Okay, so if it's the system, what exactly do we mean by system in this context?
Good question. Deming called it appreciation for a system. Basically, it's just a network of interdependent parts, people, processes, technology, all working together towards some aim. The key insight is that these parts are connected. If you try to optimize one piece in isolation, say the sales team hitting quota no matter what.
Right, like promising features that aren't ready?
Exactly. That creates chaos down the line for engineering, support, everyone. You might hit the sales target, but you've actually hurt the overall system performance. An architect sees those connections.
That makes sense. And Deming also talked about variation, didn't he? How does that fit?
Yes, knowledge of variation, crucial stuff. So any process has variation, right? Nothing is perfectly consistent. Deming identified 2 types. There's common cause variation. That's the natural, predictable background noise in a stable system. Think your commute time varying by maybe 5 minutes day to day. It just happens.
Okay, normal fluctuations.
Then there's special cause variation. This is different. It's due to specific, identifiable, unpredictable events outside the system's normal functioning, like a massive pileup blocking the highway on your commute.
So an outlier event.
Exactly. And here's the mistake many managers make. They treat common cause variation, that normal noise, as if it were a special cause. They react to every little up and down. Deming called this tampering.
Tampering?
Yeah. By reacting to the noise, you often end up increasing the variation, making performance less predictable, not more. It's why he was skeptical of things like, rigid quotas or ranking employees based on short-term results. They often punish or reward people for stuff the system is doing.
Okay, so stop blaming, look at the system, understand variation. But these systems, these dynamics, they're often invisible, aren't they? How do we actually see what's going on?
Right. That leads us to strategy 2, develop systemic X-ray vision. And a great tool for this is the Iceberg Model.
The Iceberg Model, I think I've heard of this. Like most of it is underwater.
Precisely. What we usually see and react to are the events, the tip of the iceberg. Say, Project Phoenix just missed its deadline. That's the event.
Okay, the symptom.
Yes. But if you look just below the surface, you might see patterns, what trends are happening over time. Maybe the last 4 big projects were also late. Maybe delays always happen during the integration phase.
So it's not just a one-off.
Now you're looking deeper. Below patterns are the structures. What are the underlying processes, policies, maybe team interactions that are creating those patterns?
Like that sales bonus example we talked about, where they're bonus just for closing deals with no check if engineering can actually build it.
Perfect example. That's a structural issue driving the pattern of late projects.
And there's one level even deeper, right?
The deepest level, mental models. These are the core beliefs, the assumptions, the values that hold the whole structure in place. Things like sales has to promise the moon to close deals, or engineering always says no, or we just don't have time for proper planning.
Wow. And changing things at that level.
That's where the highest leverage is. If you can shift the underlying mental models, the structures and patterns often change as a natural consequence. You're getting to the root cause.
Okay, so we can see the system now with this X-ray vision. How do we actually go about improving it? It can't just be, let's fix it.
Definitely not. We need a more scientific approach. Which brings us to strategy 3. Adopt the PDSA cycle for improvement. Plan, Do, Study, Act.
PDSA. Right, so it's about moving away from just reacting or that just do it mentality.
Exactly. It's about building knowledge through prediction and testing. So first, you plan. You define an objective, you develop a theory for improvement, and critically, you make a quantifiable prediction.
Quantifiable. Like, if we do this 15-minute daily stand-up, we predict rework will decrease by 10%. Something specific.
Perfect. Then you do. You run the test, preferably on a small scale first. Collect data.
Then study.
Yep. Analyze the data. Compare what actually happened to your prediction. What did you learn? Was your theory right, wrong, why? This is where the learning happens.
And then finally, act.
Based on what you learned, you either adopt the change, adapt it, tweak it based on the results, or abandon it if the theory didn't pan out.
So failure isn't really failure in this model, is it?
Not at all. It's successful learning. You gain knowledge, maybe prevented a larger scale mistake. It builds a true learning organization, one that improves systematically.
This all leads to a pretty different role for the leader then. It's less about being the judge and jury.
And more about being a coach. That's strategy 4. Transform from judge to coach, focusing on psychological safety.
Psychological safety. That term comes up a lot now.
It does, thanks to Amy Edmondson's work, but it ties directly back to Deming. He talked about intrinsic motivation. People want to do good work, take pride in it. But bad systems, often driven by fear and unhealthy competition, extinguish that motivation.
Deming's point about drive out fear.
His 8th point, fear is poison. People won't speak up about problems, data gets hidden or fudged, learning stops. Psychological safety is that shared belief that it's okay to take interpersonal risks, to ask questions, admit mistakes, offer ideas without fear of being punished or humiliated.
So how does a leader act like a coach to build that safety?
Well, first, frame the work differently. It's a learning problem, not just an execution problem. Acknowledge you don't have all the answers.
Be vulnerable, kind of.
In a way, yes. Model curiosity. Ask, what happened here? Or what can we learn? Instead of whose fault is this? Treat failures as system problems, opportunities to use PDSA, not occasions for blame.
And removing barriers.
Huge. Your job as coach is often just clearing the roadblocks so people can take pride in their work. When you do this, you help build a self-improving team, a self-improving organization, which, by the way, frees you up to think more strategically.
So recapping these 4 strategies. Stop blaming people. Start improving the system. Use the Iceberg Model for X-ray vision. Adopt PDSA for scientific improvement. And shift from judge to coach, building psychological safety.
That's the core of the architect mindset. It really is the most sustainable way I know to become a truly exceptional leader, moving beyond firefighting.
You stop reacting and start designing, proactively building these high-performing systems.
And, the journey doesn't have to start with some massive company-wide transformation.
Right. It can start smaller.
Yeah.
It starts with just a shift in perspective, maybe asking different questions about a problem that keeps bugging you.
Exactly. So maybe think about a chronic frustration you're facing. Could you sketch out an iceberg model for it? What's one small PDSA cycle you could try this week? That's where the architect's journey begins.